Hello.
Hello. Hi, Dharmesh. So, I'm Rahul. I'll be taking your first round of screening today.
Okay.
So, firstly, please introduce yourself and then will we start with the technical discussion.
Okay. So as you already know, my name is Dharmesh, and I have around 4.8 years of Java development experience. And
Okay.
if I talk about my technology stack, I have worked on mainly on core Java features along with Spring MVC. I have for Java and
Mm,
database implementation, I have worked with MyBatis, and for
okay.
UI, I have worked on JavaScript and jQuery. And
Okay.
there was a small project where I have used Java 8 along with Spring Boot as well. So yeah,
Okay.
that's pretty much about my introduction.
Okay. So, let's start with core Java questions, right?
Okay.
So, my first question is what is singleton and in how many ways we can break it?
Okay. Singleton classes are those classes whose object once created, it cannot be recreated. Because when you try
Okay.
to again instantiate it, it will give you the same object again and again. And
Okay.
how to break it, there are a couple of ways to break it. Those which
Okay.
I can remember as like with serialization we can break it, with reflection we can break it, with multi-threading we can break it, and
Okay.
while cloning also we can break singleton classes.
Okay. Okay. And what is GC and how it works?
Okay, GC is basically the full form of GC is like garbage collector. It's a process of removing unused or unreferenced object from the memory, so it can be reused. So the memory can be reused. So GC basically GC is the process which makes Java very efficient because it cleans all the unused memory by itself. And
Okay.
how GC works is like the whole memory in Java, right? It gets divided into two parts for GC, which is called new generation and old generation. And the new
Okay.
generation is again divided into uh, uh, three different parts, which is called Eden space and survival one and survival two. So what happens whenever we are creating any objects, and it goes into the Eden space, and after if it survives for a couple of times, sometimes it goes to survival one and survival two and so on. So why we have
Okay.
these kind of spaces? Because whenever GC is kind of very what is a very heavy process. So they have divided GC into minor GC and major GC. So in these parts, right, in new generation and all, this minor GC works. So this minor GC, because many of the objects which we create, they don't be in the memory for very longer time. They will be there for very short time. After that, it gets
Mm-hmm.
nullified, and there will not be any reference available for that. So those objects will be available in survival one or survival two. They will be swiped off in these parts as well.
Okay. Okay. So, what do you mean by immutable and how to handle mutable references in a immutable class?
Okay. So immutable classes are those classes which once created, if you try to change the change if you try to change the state of its classes, it will create a new object instead of going to the into the same object. It will create a new object. And if we
Okay.
have let's suppose if we have any class, and which is an immutable class, and it has a mutable object like any reference of any other class. So what we have to do, uh, 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 first of all, in immutable classes we don't provide setters method. We just provide get, and we initialize through constructor. So while initializing it, right, we have to while initializing it through constructor, we have to do the deep cloning of that. And while the getter also, we have to provide deep cloning of those
Okay.
mutable objects, mutable classes.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so what is serialization, and what if it contains non-serializable reference objects?
Okay, serialization is a process of converting state of an object into byte stream, so that it can be,
Okay.
transferred over the internet, and it can be processed again and again. So serialization is a process of converting into the byte stream, uh, and
Okay.
deserialization is the opposite part of that. Like it converts a stream of objects, sorry, byte stream into the object. So,
Okay.
and the what was the second question you asked me for civilization?
What if it contains, a non-serializable reference objects?
Okay, so are you asking something like that? That let's suppose we have a student class, and inside that, uh,
Hmm.
this student class implements realizable, and inside that we have an address class, reference of address class,
Right.
and that.
Right. Right.
Okay, so what happens when you try to serialize this student object? So it will give us exception that there are some non-serializable content in this class. It cannot be serialized.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And what is transient keyword?
Transient keyword is a keyword when we don't want our parameter, our variables, those variables to be serialized. So we
Okay.
used transient. So
Okay.
if
Okay.
there are a couple of properties which we don't want at the deserialization, and let's suppose there are password or something like that, and we don't want it to traverse over the internet or something, we can use transient keyword.
Okay. Okay. So what is compile time and runtime polymorphism?
Okay, compile time is this method overloading. So uh, when we have same method name and with the different parameters, it called method overloading. It generally happens in the same under the same class. And sorry, a runtime polymorphism is a process of method override. It If there are two classes like child and parent class, and they have the same method signature, then it gets overridden into we can override into the our child classes.
Okay. Okay. So, do you have any experience of multi-threading?
I don't have much experience, but I have little knowledge of that. So
Okay.
yeah, you can ask me question on that.
Okay. So, what is a reentrant lock and how it is different from synchronization?
Okay, so reentrant lock is basically a lock interface implementation which has
Okay.
been introduced in Java 1.5 if I'm not wrong. And how it is different from synchronization, that this lock interface, whatever the implementation we have for lock interface, it gives more control over our locking mechanism, because with the synchronized keyword, we uh, I mean, with reentrant lock, what we can do, we can lock our object in one method, and we can unlock this object in some other methods, which is not possible
Okay.
with the help of
Mm,
synchronization. Synchronized
mm,
keyword With synchronized keyword, we cannot do that. And there are many more
okay.
methods in reentrant lock, like try lock. We have uh,
Mm,
fairness. Like in synchronization, there is no phenomena. Like if there are a couple of threads, and like one, two, or three threads are there, and one thread is waiting for very long time. So if lock is available, any of those thread can acquire the lock. But in reentrant lock, with the reentrant lock, we have a fairness. We can define a fairness that if longer waiting thread is available, that particular thread should acquire the lock whenever lock is available. So these are the kind of
mhm.
more expertise we have in this lock interface implementations.
Okay. Okay. So, what is the difference between countdown latch and cyclic barrier?
Okay, I'm not very sure about that, but I would say these.
Okay. Okay.
Both two are kind of
Mm,
counters, and as I'm
mhm.
not very sure, but I would say that countdown latch is basically used for the task count, and cyclic barrier is used for thread count, and once barrier is broken, it cannot be reused. But with the countdown, I believe we can do that. Countdown latch, we can do that.
Okay. Okay. So let's start with Java 8 features. So could you please tell me what are the new features introduced in Java 8?
In Java 8, there are like stream is has been introduced in Java 8. It is
Okay.
I mean, it's basically used for processing and other stuff. And there is
Okay.
one huge one, like functional interface, which has been uh, at the rate functional keyword, which has been functional
Okay.
interface keyword, which has been introduced in Java 8. Before that, also we had functional interface, and but with the Java 8, this keyword is available, so that you can make sure that there is only one abstract method inside uh, that interface. So
Okay.
this yeah.
So what are functional interfaces? If I talk about like how we can create it, so
Okay.
could you please just explain me the steps that
Okay.
how
So
you can create a functional interface?
any interface which has just one abstract method can be
Okay.
a functional interface. So in Java, there
Okay.
are a couple of predefined, functional interface available, like predicate function, sub, like consumer.
Okay.
Uh, I'm not
Okay.
sure consumer
So
is the functional interface or not, but there are a couple of three or four functional interface which is available.
okay. So let's suppose we have a interface. Okay,
Mhm.
and we have one abstract method in it, and one is static method is also present in that, and one default method is also present in that.
Mhm.
So is it a functional interface, or it is just a normal interface?
Yeah, it's a functional interface. I mean, as I mentioned, that it should have just one abstract method, but static and default, it can have
Okay.
any number of static and default, but abstract method should be just one.
Okay. 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 Fine. So could you please tell me what is the difference between collection and stream?
Okay. So a stream is basically used for as for processing the data. It does not actually store the data, but it just process the data. It performs some action over the data and returns something, and it can be stored into a collection. And collection uh, is a class which can be used to store the data.
Okay.
So in Java 8, the stream has been introduced, which has made computation and processing very fast.
Okay. And what is the difference between map and flat map?
Okay, map is I mean, both are kind of similar, but I would say flat map has more features because it can be used to flatten a couple of uh, what to say processes. If let's suppose if you have two different arrays or list, and you want to combine into both the list into one list, you can use flat map. And with the map, what we do that we process one by one. If we give one input, we get one input. Like if we have if we have a if you have a solution where we have to multiply all the elements by 5 or 10, something like that, then we can use map. So all the
Okay.
elements will get multiplied by 5. We can do that.
Okay. Okay, Dharmesh, as you said that you have an experience of Spring as
Right.
well, right?
String embrace, yeah.
So yeah. Okay, so let me start with Spring as well. What is the difference between @primary and @qualifier annotation?
Okay. Okay, so I mean, both are kind of defining that which implementation it should go for. This primary basically tells, if let's suppose if we have a interface and we have two implementation of those interfaces, and we are
Okay.
using auto wired keyword. So what we have to define that from those two implementation, which implementation should be called here. So with the primary, if
Okay.
we have one and two implementation and one and implement implementation 2. So if we have defined at the rate primary for implementation one, so basically it will be called if we are giving interface name and we are using at the rate auto wired keyword, so it will be calling that implementation one automatically. And with the at the rate qualifier, so whenever we are writing this auto wire, there itself we have to write at the rate qualifier that with particular implementation we want to call.
Okay. Okay. So, and what is the difference between dependency injection and IOC container?
Okay, so IOC is more like a generic term. IOC is called inversion of control. It defines that
Okay.
instead of going to the making the object by with the new keyword or something like that, whenever we create our object with the new keyword, what it happens, it creates a tight coupling. It right, it depends on
Mm-hmm.
that particular object. So instead of that, inversion of control says that we don't have to go for tight coupling. We have to create all the components loosely coupled, and through that, I mean,
Okay.
with the help of IOC inversion of control, uh, this is a concept, and with the help of dependency, right, dependency injection, we can achieve that. So there are a couple of more ways
Okay.
could be to achieve inversion of control, but DI is one of those.
Okay. Okay. So, how to handle exceptions globally in a Spring?
Okay. So for that, what we generally do, we create a class and we annotate this particular class with at the rate controller advice. And after
Okay.
that, like let's suppose we have any custom exception, suppose invalid age, we have made a invalid age exception, and we can handle those exception here inside the class. We can create a method, and we can annotate that method with at the rate exception handler, and inside that we can handle this invalid age. So whenever in our
Mm-hmm.
application, whenever invalid age exception will be thrown, it will be coming here. This controller advice will be taking that exception, and it will finding inside its class that if there is any method which has been handled with exception handler, and it will be calling that particular method.
Okay. Okay, Dharmesh, I'll give you a scenario,
Okay.
right? Like, for example, you have a employee table, and in this table you have a few columns like employee ID, employee name, and manager ID, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now you have to write a query which returns, employee ID, employee name, and manager name. So how you can do that?
Okay,
What is the
so
query for returning these things?
it's an example of self join, right? So
Okay.
what we can do, that we can write something like select even dot employee ID, even dot name, and comma e2 dot this manager name.
Okay.
E2 dot name, actually manager name is not the column, right? So and we can join this employee e1 and employee e2 on employee e1 dot eid is equal to e2 dot manager id.
And what is even basically?
Even is even is alias for employee table, and
Okay.
e2 is
Okay.
again alias for employee table.
Okay. Okay.
So we are joining these two tables virtually.
Okay. Okay. So let's assume this query taking too much time, right?
Okay.
So how you optimize it?
So this query is taking too much time.
Yes.
Okay. So I mean, can we do something like indexing? Can we create indexes
Yes.
in okay.
Yes, you can.
So what we can do, that we can define two columns and on which we can create an index. And what indexing does,
Okay.
that it sorts the data, it sort all the data, and it stores into that. And whenever we are trying to fetch it, it goes into that particular segment of indexes, and it fetch that particular data. So it makes our query really quick as compared to.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Dharmesh. So I'm done from my end. So do you have
Mhm.
any questions?
Uh, no, actually. So I would like to ask that where there would be any more round of technical interview, or this would be it.
Yeah, probably one more round is there.
Okay, if I clear this one, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
So thank you so much, Dharmesh, for your
Yeah.
time. Have
Thank
a
you.
good day and bye
Thank you so
bye.
much, Rahul. Thanks. Bye.
Okay, bye bye.